Welcome to Learn English with Audio Story Level 3. Today's story is called The Unclaimed Package. Imagine hearing your doorbell on a rainy evening. You open the door. Nobody is there. No visitor. No delivery driver. Just a single package sitting quietly on your doorstep. At first, it seems ordinary, but then you notice something strange. The package isn't addressed to you. It has no return address, no sender's name, and written across the box are 6 mysterious words. Please deliver this before December 24th. But that's not the strangest part. When you check the shipping date, your heart stops. The package was mailed 15 years ago. How can a package disappear for 15 years and suddenly appear at the right address? Who sent it? Who was supposed to receive it? And what could be so important that someone waited all those years for it to arrive? As Olivia begins searching for answers, she uncovers a forgotten mystery involving a missing man, a hidden storage unit, old family secrets, and a promise that refused to die. With every clue, the mystery grows deeper. With every chapter, the truth becomes more emotional. And hidden inside the package is a story that has been waiting 15 years to be told. Stay until the very end, because the final delivery reveals a secret that connects generations and proves that some promises can survive even the passage of time. What started as a simple package becomes an unforgettable journey of mystery, family, love, and hope. So sit back, relax, improve your English, and enjoy today's story. The Unclaimed Package. A package arrived 15 years late, and what was inside changed everything. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Strange Package. Learn English through Story Level 3. The rain began early that evening. Dark clouds covered the sky, and a steady drizzle fell over the small town of Willow Creek. Most people hurried home after work. The streets slowly emptied. Store owners closed their doors. Street lights reflected softly on the wet pavement. Inside her cozy house near the edge of town, Olivia Bennett sat comfortably on her couch with a cup of tea. A warm blanket covered her legs. Soft music played quietly in the background. After a long day at work, she was looking forward to a peaceful evening. Olivia worked as a graphic designer for a publishing company. Most days were busy. Deadlines, meetings, projects. By the time she arrived home, she usually wanted nothing more than a quiet night. Tonight seemed perfect. The rain created a calming rhythm against the windows. The tea smelled wonderful. Everything felt peaceful. Then the doorbell rang. Olivia looked toward the front door. She frowned slightly. Visitors were rare, especially on rainy evenings. The bell rang again. Carefully, she set down her tea and stood. As she walked toward the entrance, she wondered who it could be. Perhaps a neighbor, perhaps a delivery driver, maybe someone at the wrong address. When she opened the door, nobody was there. Only rain. The empty street stretched before her. The wind moved gently through nearby trees. For a moment she thought she had imagined the bell. Then she looked down. A package sat on the porch. Olivia blinked. The box appeared ordinary at first glance, medium-sized, brown cardboard, wrapped carefully with old packing tape, yet something about it felt unusual. She stepped outside and picked it up. The package felt surprisingly heavy, not extremely heavy, but heavier than expected. Rain had dampened the cardboard slightly. Wanting to protect it from the weather, Olivia carried it inside. She placed it on the kitchen table. Then she examined the shipping label. Her curiosity immediately grew. The package wasn't addressed to her. The recipient's name read Thomas Carter. Olivia frowned. She didn't know anyone named Thomas Carter. The address was correct. Her address. But the name was wrong. That's strange. She checked the label again. No mistake. The package clearly belonged to someone else. Perhaps a delivery error. That happened occasionally. She looked for a return address. Nothing. No company. No sender. No phone number. No contact information. Only the recipient's name. And one handwritten sentence written across the side of the box. Please deliver this before December 24th. Olivia stared at the message. Something about it felt odd. The handwriting appeared old. Not recent. Not fresh. The ink looked slightly faded. Almost aged. A chill of curiosity ran through her. She examined the package more carefully. The cardboard seemed older than normal. The tape looked worn. Even the label appeared yellowed, as though it had spent years somewhere. The observation felt ridiculous. Packages didn't age. Packages were delivered. Still, the feeling remained. This box looked old, very old. She turned it over. then noticed something printed near one corner, a postmark. At first, she thought she was reading it incorrectly. She moved closer to the kitchen light, then looked again. Her eyes widened. The date printed on the package was impossible, 15 years earlier. Olivia stared at the number. Surely it was a mistake, a printing error, some kind of accident. But the date remained, 15 years. The package had supposedly been mailed 15 years ago. That can't be right. She checked again. The same result, the same date, the same impossible conclusion. For several moments she simply stood there. The rain continued outside. The clock ticked quietly, and the mysterious package sat silently on her table. Questions filled her mind. Who was Thomas Carter? Why was the package addressed to her house? Where had it been for 15 years? And why was someone so concerned about December 24? The mystery immediately captured her imagination. Olivia had always been curious, perhaps too curious. As a child, she loved puzzles, mysteries, hidden clues, treasure hunts. Her parents often joked that she asked more questions than anyone they had ever met. Now, standing in her kitchen, she felt the same curiosity returning. She made another cup of tea, then sat across from the package. The box seemed almost ordinary, yet every detail suggested otherwise. She carefully examined the label again. The name, the date, the handwritten message. No matter how many times she looked, nothing changed. The mystery remained. Eventually, she opened her laptop. Perhaps she could find Thomas Carter online. It seemed like a reasonable starting point. She typed the name into a search engine. Hundreds of results appeared. Thousands, actually. The name was common, too common. Without additional information, finding the correct person would be nearly impossible. She tried adding her town's name. The results narrowed, but still revealed too many possibilities. Nothing stood out. Nothing connected directly to the package. After an hour of searching, she leaned back in frustration. The mystery remained exactly where it began. Then another idea occurred to her. Maybe someone in town remembered Thomas Carter. Willow Creek wasn't a large community. Many residents knew one another. Local history mattered. Perhaps older residents would recognize the name. The next morning, the rain had stopped. Sunlight filled the town. Olivia carried a photograph of the package on her phone and headed downtown. Her first stop was a small cafe. The owner, Mrs. Grant, had lived in Willow Creek for nearly 50 years. If anyone knew local families, it was probably her. When Olivia entered, the smell of fresh coffee filled the room. Several regular customers sat chatting near the windows. Mrs. Grant smiled warmly. "Good morning, Olivia." "Morning." Olivia ordered coffee, then explained the situation. The mysterious package, the name, the strange date. Mrs. Grant listened carefully. By the time Olivia finished, several nearby customers had stopped talking and started listening. Everyone seemed interested. Finally, Mrs. Grant frowned thoughtfully. "Thomas Carter." The name seemed familiar. Olivia leaned forward. "You've heard it before?" "Maybe." Mrs. Grant thought for a moment, then shook her head. "I'm not sure." The answer disappointed Olivia. Still, she thanked her. As she prepared to leave, an elderly man sitting nearby spoke. "I knew a Carter family once." Olivia turned immediately. The man introduced himself as Walter Jennings. He had lived in town his entire life. The Carters moved away years ago. Olivia's heart beat faster. "Do you remember Thomas?" Walter nodded slowly. "A little." "What can you tell me?" The old man sipped his coffee, then began speaking. According to Walter, Thomas Carter had lived in Willow Creek many years earlier. His family owned a small bookstore downtown. People liked them, respected them. Thomas himself had been known as a friendly young man, hard-working, polite, ambitious. The description immediately made Olivia curious. What happened to him? Walter's expression changed, almost as though he remembered something unpleasant. "I'm not entirely sure." Olivia waited. Walter looked out the window, then back at her. "One day he was here." A pause, and then he wasn't. "What do you mean?" "He left." "Moved away?" Walter shrugged. "Maybe." The uncertainty bothered Olivia. "What happened?" The old man shook his head. Nobody seemed to know. A strange silence followed. Then Walter added something unexpected. "I remember people talking about a package." Olivia froze. "A package," Walter nodded. The room suddenly felt smaller, quieter, more intense. "What kind of package?" "I don't know," he frowned. "It was a long time ago." His memory seemed incomplete, fragmented. Yet the connection was impossible to ignore. A package. Thomas Carter, the same mystery. The same name. Olivia thanked him and left. Outside, excitement filled her thoughts. The mystery was becoming real, not just a strange delivery, a story, a forgotten story, and somewhere within that story lay answers. Later that afternoon, Olivia visited the old bookstore. To her surprise, the building still existed. Though the bookstore had closed years earlier, now it housed an antique shop. The owner greeted her politely. After hearing her questions, he pointed toward a framed photograph hanging on the wall. Olivia walked closer. Several people stood outside the bookstore. A family, smiling proudly. Beneath the photograph was a small plaque. Carter Family Bookstore, established 1972. Her eyes scanned the image, then stopped. A young man stood near the center. Thomas Carter. She didn't know how, but somehow she knew. Perhaps because she had already imagined him while hearing Walter's stories. Perhaps because he looked exactly like someone connected to a mystery. Then she noticed something else. Taped discreetly behind the frame was a folded piece of paper. The antique shop owner looked surprised. "I've never noticed that." Carefully, Olivia removed it. The paper was old, very old. Her hands trembled slightly as she unfolded it. Inside was a handwritten note, only a few words. Yet those words changed everything. "If the package returns, find me." Below the sentence appeared an address, and beneath the address, a signature. Thomas Carter. Olivia stared at the note. Her heart raced. The package, Thomas, the missing years, the mysterious delivery. Everything suddenly felt connected. Someone had expected the package to return. Someone knew it might reappear, and that someone was Thomas Carter himself. For several moments, Olivia could only stare. The mystery had just become much bigger. And somewhere beyond that address waited the next clue, the next answer, the next chapter of a story that had remained hidden for 15 years. End of Chapter 1. Chapter 2. The Missing Recipient. Learn English through Story Level 3. Olivia could hardly think about anything else. The note she had found behind the old bookstore photograph lay on her kitchen table. Beside it sat the mysterious package. The two items seemed connected by an invisible thread. One had arrived unexpectedly on her doorstep. The other had been hidden for years behind a picture frame, and both pointed toward the same person. Thomas Carter. The name had gone from being a stranger's name on a package to the center of a growing mystery. Olivia looked again at the handwritten note. "If the package returns, find me." The words felt strange, almost unsettling. Not if a package arrives, not if someone delivers a package, but if the package returns. As though Thomas had expected it to disappear, as though he knew it might someday come back. The thought sent a chill through her. She checked the address written beneath the note. It was located outside Willow Creek, a small town about 2 hours away. Olivia immediately searched for it online. The address still existed. According to modern maps, it was an old farmhouse near a rural community called Green Hollow. Her curiosity grew stronger, but before making the trip, she wanted more information. Who exactly was Thomas Carter? Why had he disappeared? And what was so important about the package? The next morning, Olivia returned downtown. This time she headed toward the Willow Creek Historical Society. The organization occupied a beautiful brick building that had once served as the town's original library. Inside, shelves contained decades of photographs, newspapers, and local records. If answers existed anywhere, she hoped they would be here. An elderly volunteer greeted her warmly. His name was Harold Simmons. After listening to Olivia's story, Harold smiled. "You've certainly found an interesting mystery." "It feels that way." Harold nodded. "Let's see what we can uncover." Together, they entered a records room. Large cabinets lined the walls. Old newspaper archives filled several shelves. Photographs sat neatly organized in boxes. The room smelled faintly of paper and history. For the next 2 hours, Olivia searched through records connected to the Carter family. At first, everything seemed ordinary. The family bookstore appeared frequently in old newspaper articles. Community events, book fairs, charity drives. The Carters seemed well-liked, respected, an important part of the town. Then Olivia found something unexpected, a newspaper article from 16 years earlier. The headline immediately caught her attention. "Local bookstore owner's son missing." Her heart skipped a beat. She quickly began reading. The article described Thomas Carter, 28 years old, resident of Willow Creek, reported missing by family members. Friends claimed they had not heard from him in days. According to the article, Thomas had planned to leave town briefly. Then he vanished. No explanation, no warning, no contact. Police launched an investigation, but few details were available. Olivia read every word carefully. The timing immediately stood out. Thomas disappeared almost exactly 1 year before the package was mailed. That couldn't be a coincidence, could it? The article raised more questions than it answered. Harold noticed her expression. Found something? Olivia handed him the newspaper. His eyes widened. I remember this. You do? A little. Harold adjusted his glasses. The whole town talked about it. What happened? The old man sighed. Nobody ever figured that out. Olivia frowned. What do you mean? Thomas simply vanished. The answer felt frustrating. Another disappearance, another mystery, another missing person. The similarities reminded her of stories she'd read in novels. Except this was real. Very real. Harold continued searching through archives. Eventually he located additional articles. Most repeated the same information. Search efforts, community concern, police updates. Yet one article mentioned something unusual. Thomas had been seen arguing with an unidentified man shortly before disappearing. The identity of the man remained unknown. Investigators never discovered who he was. Olivia copied the information into her notebook. Every clue mattered, no matter how small. As she continued reading, a photograph slipped from between 2 newspaper pages. It landed softly on the table. Olivia picked it up. The image showed Thomas standing beside another young man. Both appeared to be in their 20s. Both were smiling. The photograph seemed casual, friendly, yet something about it felt important. She turned the photograph over. A name was written on the back. Ethan Brooks. Olivia stared at the words. Another name, another clue. Harold looked interested. That name sounds familiar. Really? I think Ethan worked at the bookstore. Olivia immediately wrote it down. For the first time, she felt genuine progress. Thomas Carter was no longer simply a missing person. He had connections, relationships, people who knew him, people who might provide answers. Later that afternoon, Olivia visited the town cafe again. Walter Jennings sat at his usual table. When he saw her approaching, he smiled. Back already? I found something. Walter listened as she explained the newspaper article, the missing person report, the photograph, the name Ethan Brooks. The old man became thoughtful. I remember Ethan. Olivia immediately sat down. What can you tell me? Walter sipped his coffee. He and Thomas were close. Friends? Best friends. That seemed significant. Do you know what happened to him? Walter pointed toward the window. Last I heard, he still lived nearby. Olivia's eyes widened. You know where? Walter provided directions. A small house on the outskirts of town, only 15 minutes away. Olivia thanked him and left immediately. The possibility of speaking with someone who knew Thomas excited her. The drive felt longer than 15 minutes. Questions filled her mind. What would Ethan remember? Would he know what happened? Could he explain the package? The mystery seemed closer than ever. Eventually she reached the address. A modest white house stood surrounded by trees. The property appeared peaceful, well-maintained. Olivia parked nearby and approached the front door. For a moment, she hesitated. Then she knocked. Several seconds passed. Footsteps approached. The door opened. A man in his 40s stood before her. He looked surprised. Can I help you? Are you Ethan Brooks? The man's expression immediately changed. Yes. Olivia introduced herself. Then she carefully explained why she had come. The package, the note, Thomas Carter. The moment she mentioned Thomas's name, Ethan became silent. Very silent. Finally, he stepped aside. You'd better come in. The room felt comfortable. Books filled several shelves. Family photographs decorated the walls. Ethan motioned toward a chair. Then he sat across from her. For several moments, neither spoke. Then Ethan sighed. I haven't talked about Thomas in years. Olivia nodded. I understand. No, his voice softened. I don't think anyone really understands. The sadness in his eyes surprised her. Clearly, Thomas's disappearance still affected him. Ethan stared out the window, then slowly began speaking. Thomas had been his closest friend. They grew up together, worked together, shared dreams, shared plans. According to Ethan, Thomas was intelligent and adventurous, always curious, always searching for something bigger than himself. Everyone liked him, Ethan said, so why did he disappear? Ethan looked down. I wish I knew. The answer disappointed her, yet she sensed he was being honest. Then Ethan stood. "Wait here." He disappeared into another room. A few moments later he returned carrying an old box. Dust covered the lid. Carefully he placed it on the table. "I kept these." Olivia looked inside. Photographs, letters, memories, pieces of a friendship preserved through time. Ethan picked up one photograph. Thomas smiled from the image. Standing beside him was Ethan, the same photograph Olivia found earlier. There weren't many pictures left. Olivia studied the image. Then something caught her attention. In the background stood a building, an unfamiliar building. "What is that?" Ethan looked. Immediately his expression changed. "The train station." Olivia felt excitement growing. "Train station?" Ethan nodded. Thomas spent a lot of time there before he disappeared. The information seemed important, very important. "Why?" "I don't know." His answer came too quickly, too carefully, Olivia noticed, and apparently Ethan noticed her noticing. For a moment neither spoke. Then Ethan sighed heavily. There was something. Olivia waited. Thomas believed someone was following him. The words surprised her. "What?" Ethan nodded. He mentioned it several times. A chill ran through Olivia. Following him? Why? Who? Ethan continued. "At first, I thought he was imagining things." "What changed?" The older man looked uneasy. "Then I saw someone." Olivia leaned forward. "Who?" "I don't know." Again, frustration appeared. The mystery seemed filled with unknown people, unknown faces, unknown motives. Still, Ethan's story felt genuine. He wasn't inventing details. If anything, he seemed reluctant to share them. As afternoon faded into evening, Olivia prepared to leave. Then Ethan handed her something, a small folded paper. "I almost forgot." "What is it?" "Thomas gave me this." Her heart skipped a beat. "When?" "A few days before he disappeared." Olivia carefully unfolded it. Inside was a simple hand-drawn map. Nothing more, no explanation, no message, only a route leading toward an isolated location outside town. At the bottom appeared 2 handwritten words. Storage unit. Olivia stared. The mystery had expanded once again. The package, the disappearance, the hidden note, and now a storage unit. Ethan watched her carefully. "I never knew what it meant." Olivia folded the paper. Her mind raced. A storage unit could contain anything. Documents, clues, answers, or perhaps nothing at all. Yet instinct told her otherwise. Thomas left the map for a reason connected to everything else. As she drove home that evening, the sunset painted the sky orange and gold. But Olivia barely noticed. Her thoughts remained focused on the mystery. For the first time, she felt genuinely close to something important. Thomas Carter wasn't simply missing. Something had happened. Something significant. And whatever that something was, it connected directly to the mysterious package that arrived 15 years late. Back at home, she placed the package on the kitchen table. Then she set the map beside it. Slowly, the pieces were beginning to connect. Not completely, not yet, but enough to reveal a larger picture. Somewhere beyond the storage unit waited another clue, another answer, and perhaps the truth about what happened to Thomas Carter all those years ago. Olivia looked once more at the package, the faded handwriting, the old postmark, the strange message. Then she whispered softly, "What are you trying to tell me?" The package remained silent, but somehow she felt the answer was getting closer, much closer, and the next clue might change everything. End of Chapter 2. Chapter 3, The Christmas Promise. Learn English through Story Level 3. Olivia barely slept that night. The mysterious package sat on her kitchen table. Beside it lay the hand-drawn map Ethan Brooks had given her, and next to the map rested her notebook, now filled with names, dates, and clues. Thomas Carter, Ethan Brooks, the bookstore, the disappearance, the package mailed 15 years ago. Each clue seemed connected, yet the complete picture remained hidden. As the first light of morning entered through the window, Olivia poured herself a cup of coffee and stared at the map again. The words written at the bottom echoed in her mind. Storage unit. It was the strongest lead she had discovered so far. If Thomas had given the map to Ethan just days before disappearing, it must have been important. Very important. Perhaps it would finally explain the package. Perhaps it would explain why Thomas vanished. Or perhaps it would raise even more questions. Only one way existed to find out. An hour later, Olivia was driving toward the location marked on the map. The road led beyond Willow Creek, past open fields, past farms, past places she had never visited before. Eventually, the paved road became gravel. Trees lined both sides. The landscape grew quieter, more isolated. After another 20 minutes, she spotted a weathered sign. Willow Storage Facility. Her heart beat faster. This was it. The place from the map. The facility appeared old but still operational. Rows of storage units stretched across a large fenced property. Most doors were closed. The area looked almost deserted. Olivia parked near the office and stepped inside. An older woman sat behind the desk reading a magazine. She looked up and smiled. "Good morning." "Good morning." Olivia introduced herself, then explained that she was researching something connected to Thomas Carter. The woman's expression changed immediately. "You know Thomas?" Olivia's pulse quickened. "You remember him?" The woman nodded slowly. "Of course." For the first time in days, Olivia had found someone who actually remembered Thomas personally. "My name is Linda." She stood and offered her hand. "Thomas used to come here often." Olivia could hardly believe her luck. "What can you tell me?" Linda thought for a moment, then motioned toward a chair. "Quite a bit, actually." For the next half hour, Linda shared her memories. Thomas had rented a storage unit nearly 16 years earlier. He visited regularly, sometimes several times a week, sometimes late in the evening, always alone, always careful. According to Linda, he seemed nervous during his final weeks, distracted, concerned about something. He kept asking strange questions. "What kind of questions?" Olivia asked. Linda frowned thoughtfully. He wanted to know if anyone had been asking about him. A chill ran through Olivia, the same fear Ethan had described, the feeling of being followed. The pieces were beginning to align. Did anyone ask about him? Linda hesitated, then nodded. One man. Olivia sat up straighter. "What man?" "I don't know his name." Again with the unknown people. Still, this clue felt important. Linda continued. "The man came several times." "What did he want?" "Thomas." The answer was simple, but unsettling. "What happened?" Linda shook her head. "I never learned." Olivia felt both excitement and frustration. The mystery seemed to reveal itself one tiny piece at a time. Then Linda surprised her. "I think the storage unit is still there." Olivia blinked. "What?" "The rental payments stopped years ago." Linda opened a filing cabinet. After searching briefly, she found an old folder. "There it is." Her finger pointed toward a unit number. "Unit 27. Olivia stared. The storage unit still existed. After all these years, the possibility felt incredible. "Can I see it?" Linda hesitated, then nodded. Under certain circumstances, abandoned units can be inspected. Minutes later, they walked through rows of metal doors. The morning air felt cool. Birds sang in nearby trees. Everything seemed normal. Yet Olivia felt nervous, as though she were approaching something significant, something important. Finally, they stopped. Unit 27. The metal door appeared faded with age. Dust covered the handle. Linda unlocked it, then stepped aside. Slowly, Olivia pulled the door upward. The metal rattled loudly. Sunlight entered the dark space. At first, she saw only shadows, then her eyes adjusted. The storage unit wasn't full. In fact, it contained very little: a wooden chair, several cardboard boxes, and one large metal trunk. The sight surprised her. After all these years, she expected something more dramatic. Still, appearances could be misleading. Carefully, she stepped inside. Dust floated through the sunlight. The air smelled old, forgotten. The boxes contained books, dozens of books, most related to history, travel, geography. Nothing unusual, nothing immediately helpful. Then she approached the metal trunk. A small lock secured it. But unlike the package, this lock was already broken. Someone had forced it open years ago. Her heart raced. Had someone searched the trunk before? Carefully, she lifted the lid. Inside rested stacks of papers, letters, photographs, documents. And at the very top sat a small red notebook. Olivia picked it up. The cover was worn, the pages yellowed, yet the handwriting inside remained clear. Thomas Carter's handwriting. For a moment, she simply stared. This wasn't just a clue, it was Thomas's personal journal. The discovery felt enormous. Carefully, she opened the first page. The entries began nearly 16 years earlier. At first, the journal seemed ordinary. Daily observations, personal thoughts, future plans. Yet as Olivia continued reading, the tone gradually changed. Thomas wrote about concern, fear, confusion. Repeatedly, he mentioned the same issue. Someone was watching him. Someone wanted something he possessed. The entries became more detailed over time, more anxious, more urgent. One passage particularly caught Olivia's attention. December 10th, I found the letters. I finally understand why Grandpa wanted them protected. If the wrong people get them, everything changes. I promised him I would keep them safe, no matter what happens. Olivia read the words twice, then a third time. Letters, important letters, protected from the wrong people. Could those letters be inside the mysterious package? The possibility seemed likely, very likely. She continued reading. Another entry appeared several pages later. December 15th. Someone followed me again today. I'm certain now. I don't know who they are, but they know about the letters. If anything happens to me, the package must reach its destination. The promise must be kept. The promise. Olivia immediately remembered the handwritten message. Please deliver this before December 24th. Suddenly, everything felt connected. The package wasn't random. It wasn't ordinary. It was part of a promise. A promise Thomas considered important enough to risk everything. Her pulse quickened. She kept reading. The final entries revealed more. Thomas's grandfather had entrusted him with several letters before his death. Letters written decades earlier. Letters connected to an event nobody else knew about. According to the journal, those letters needed to reach a specific person. Before Christmas. The reason remained unclear, but Thomas seemed determined. Obsessed, even. Then Olivia reached the final entry. The last words Thomas ever wrote. December 23rd. Tomorrow is the deadline. Everything depends on the package reaching her. If I fail, the promise dies with me, but I won't fail. I gave my word. The entry ended there. No further pages followed. No explanation, no conclusion. Just silence. Olivia sat quietly. The journal rested in her hands. A strange mixture of emotions filled her: excitement, curiosity, sadness. Thomas had clearly believed in something deeply important, something worth protecting, something worth sacrificing for. But what and who was the mysterious woman mentioned in the final entry? The package had to reach her. Who was she? The answer might finally explain everything. Linda looked curious. Find anything interesting? Olivia smiled slightly. Very interesting. They carried the trunk's contents back to the office. There, Olivia carefully examined the photographs. Most showed family gatherings, holidays, birthday celebrations, normal memories. Then she discovered one image unlike the others. A young woman stood beside Thomas. Both smiled warmly at the camera. The photograph looked recent compared to the others. On the back, someone had written a name. Sarah Whitmore. Olivia's breath caught. Another name, another clue. The mystery seemed determined to keep expanding. She immediately checked the journal again. After several minutes, she found it. A reference to Sarah. Only one sentence, yet it changed everything. Sarah deserves to know the truth. Olivia stared at the words. The truth, the letters, the promise, the package. Everything pointed toward Sarah Whitmore. Who was she? Why did she deserve the truth? And why was Thomas so determined to deliver it? As afternoon sunlight filled the office, Olivia organized her notes. The investigation had taken a major step forward. For the first time, she understood that the package wasn't simply a package. It represented a promise passed from one generation to another, a promise important enough to survive 15 years, important enough to remain unfinished, until now. Before leaving, Linda handed Olivia one final item. A small envelope discovered inside the trunk. The paper appeared old. Across the front was written a single name. Sarah. Olivia stared. The mystery had just given her another clue. Perhaps the biggest one yet. Somewhere Sarah Whitmore existed, and somehow she was connected to everything. The letters, the promise, the disappearance, the package. As Olivia drove home that evening, the setting sun painted the horizon gold. For the first time, she felt close to the truth. Very close. The journey wasn't over, far from it, but the path ahead seemed clearer. She needed to find Sarah Whitmore, because if Thomas's journal was correct, Sarah held the key to the entire mystery, and somewhere within the unopened package waited an answer that had been delayed for 15 years, an answer that might finally reveal why Thomas Carter disappeared, and why he sacrificed everything to keep a Christmas promise. End of Chapter 3. Chapter 4. The Long Journey. Learn English through Story Level 3. Olivia sat quietly at her kitchen table. The mysterious package rested in front of her. Beside it lay Thomas Carter's journal, the photograph of Sarah Whitmore, and the small envelope with Sarah's name written across the front. The pieces of the puzzle were finally starting to connect. Yet one crucial question remained unanswered. Who was Sarah Whitmore? Thomas had written about her. He believed she deserved to know the truth. He had spent his final days protecting something intended for her. And somehow, 15 years later, that same package had appeared on Olivia's doorstep. The mystery had become personal, not only for Thomas, not only for Sarah, but for Olivia as well. She had spent weeks chasing clues, meeting strangers, following old trails. Now she felt closer than ever to the truth. That evening she opened her laptop and began searching. The name Sarah Whitmore produced hundreds of results. Too many. Most had no connection to Willow Creek, no connection to Thomas, no connection to the package. Still, Olivia refused to give up. She searched old public records, archived newspapers, social media profiles, community directories. Hours passed. The sky outside grew dark, yet Olivia continued searching. Then she found something. A newspaper article published nearly 15 years earlier. The headline immediately caught her attention. Local teacher accepts position in Green Hollow. The article included a photograph. Olivia stared. The woman in the picture was the same person from Thomas's photograph. Sarah Whitmore. Her pulse quickened. Finally, a real lead. The article revealed that Sarah had moved from Willow Creek to Green Hollow shortly before Thomas disappeared. The timing seemed important, very important. Olivia immediately checked the address listed in the article. To her surprise, the school still existed. And according to the school's website, Sarah Whitmore still worked there. After 15 years, she might still be reachable. The possibility felt almost unbelievable. The next morning, Olivia began the journey. Green Hollow was located nearly 3 hours away. The drive took her through rolling hills and quiet countryside. Small towns appeared and disappeared along the road. Fields stretched endlessly beside the road. The farther she travelled, the more isolated the landscape became. Throughout the drive, her thoughts remained fixed on the mystery. Who was Sarah to Thomas? Why was she so important? And most importantly, did she know anything about the package? Shortly after noon, Olivia arrived in Green Hollow. The town was smaller than Willow Creek, quiet streets, historic buildings, friendly faces. The atmosphere felt welcoming. She drove directly to the school. Children played outside during lunch break. Teachers supervised from nearby benches. The scene felt peaceful, normal. Yet Olivia knew that somewhere inside this ordinary place waited another piece of an extraordinary story. Inside the main office, she introduced herself. The receptionist listened carefully, then smiled. Sarah is still here. Olivia felt immediate relief. Could I speak with her? The receptionist made a phone call. A few minutes later, a woman entered the office. Olivia recognized her immediately. Although older now, she was unmistakably the same woman from the photograph. Sarah Whitmore. Her expression showed polite curiosity. Can I help you? Olivia stood. For a moment she wasn't sure how to begin. How do you explain a 15-year-old mystery? How do you explain a package that arrived impossibly late? Finally, she chose honesty. My name is Olivia Bennett. Sarah nodded. I'm looking for information about Thomas Carter. Everything changed. The moment Thomas's name left Olivia's lips, Sarah froze. The reaction was immediate, unexpected, powerful. For several seconds, neither woman spoke. Then Sarah quietly asked, "Where did you hear that name?" Olivia carefully explained everything. The package, the old note, the bookstore, the journal, the photograph, the storage unit, the promise, and finally, the envelope addressed to Sarah. By the time she finished, Sarah's eyes were filled with emotion. The office suddenly felt too small for the conversation. Sarah glanced toward the receptionist, then back at Olivia. Would you like some coffee? The question was clearly an invitation, a private conversation. Olivia nodded. I'd love some. 20 minutes later, they sat in a quiet cafe near the town square. Rain clouds drifted across the sky. Soft music played in the background. The atmosphere felt strangely familiar, as though another important conversation had once taken place somewhere just like this. Sarah wrapped both hands around her coffee cup. Then she sighed. I haven't spoken about Thomas in years. Olivia listened carefully. Who was he to you? A small smile appeared, a sad smile. My best friend. The answer surprised Olivia. For some reason, she had expected something romantic. Instead, Sarah's voice carried the warmth of deep friendship. We grew up together. She looked out the window. We spent half our lives together. Olivia remained silent, allowing Sarah space to continue. Thomas was always helping people. A laugh escaped her, sometimes too much. The smile faded, but that was who he was. For the next hour, Sarah shared memories, stories from childhood, school adventures, dreams they once shared. The more Olivia listened, the clearer Thomas became. Not simply a missing person, not simply a mystery. A real person, kind, loyal, generous, the type of person who leaves a lasting impact on everyone he meets. Then Sarah's expression changed, becoming more serious. Everything changed after his grandfather died. Olivia immediately paid closer attention. Thomas's journal had mentioned his grandfather repeatedly. What happened? Sarah leaned forward. He inherited something. The letters? Sarah's eyes widened. You know about them? Olivia nodded. A little. Sarah looked stunned. Then she slowly explained. According to Thomas, his grandfather had protected a collection of letters for decades. The letters documented events that occurred many years earlier. Events connected to a family separated by circumstances beyond their control, a family that never learned the truth. Thomas believed the letters belonged to someone else, someone who deserved answers, someone who deserved closure. And that person was Sarah. Olivia stared. Sarah? She nodded. My grandmother. The answer hit Olivia like a wave. Everything suddenly made sense. The letters weren't meant for Sarah directly. They were meant for her family, her grandmother. The truth Thomas wanted to deliver had existed for generations, a secret passed through time, protected by his grandfather, then entrusted to Thomas. The responsibility suddenly felt enormous. Sarah continued. My grandmother spent her entire life searching for answers. Her voice softened. She died before she found them. The sadness in her words filled the silence. Olivia understood immediately. This wasn't just a mystery. It was unfinished family history, unfinished grief, unfinished hope. Then Sarah asked the question Olivia expected. The package? Olivia nodded. Yes. Do you have it? For a moment, neither spoke. Then Olivia smiled. I do. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. 15 years waiting for something she never expected to see. The emotional weight of the moment felt overwhelming. After finishing their coffee, Sarah invited Olivia to her home. The small house sat near the edge of town. Flower gardens surrounded the porch. Photographs decorated nearly every room. Family clearly meant everything to her. As they sat in the living room, Sarah brought out an old wooden box. Inside rested dozens of family photographs, letters, documents, memories. She carefully selected one photograph, then handed it to Olivia. The image showed an elderly woman smiling warmly. My grandmother. Olivia studied the photograph. The resemblance to Sarah was unmistakable. Then Sarah pointed toward another person standing beside her grandmother. Olivia's eyes widened. The man looked remarkably similar to someone she had already seen, Thomas's grandfather. The realization sent a chill through her. The families had been connected for decades, perhaps even longer, far longer than Olivia realized. For the next several hours, they compared documents, photographs, stories. Gradually, the truth emerged. The letters inside the package contained information about family members separated many years earlier. Misunderstandings, lost connections, mistakes, secrets, all preserved in writing, all waiting to be delivered. Thomas had spent years trying to complete the promise his grandfather made, and somehow, despite disappearing 15 years earlier, the package had finally reached its destination. The thought felt almost miraculous. As evening approached, Sarah sat quietly. The setting sun illuminated the room with golden light. She looked toward the package resting on the table, then toward Olivia. I never thought I'd see it. Olivia smiled softly. Neither did I. For a long moment, neither woman spoke. The journey had been long, complicated, emotional, yet somehow it had led exactly where it needed to go. The package had found its way home, but one final step remained. The package still needed to be opened. The letters still needed to be read, and the truth still needed to be revealed. As darkness settled outside, Olivia realized something. The mystery was almost over. The search was nearly complete, yet the final answer remained hidden inside the package, waiting, just as it had waited for 15 years, and tomorrow, at last, the Christmas promise would finally be fulfilled. End of Chapter 4. Chapter 5. The Final Delivery. Learn English through Story Level 3. The next morning arrived quietly. Sunlight streamed through the curtains of Sarah Whitmore's living room. Outside, birds sang in the trees. A gentle breeze moved through the flower garden. Everything felt calm. Yet inside the house, anticipation filled the air. For 15 years, a package had travelled through time, confusion and mystery. For 15 years, questions had remained unanswered. And now, at last, the package rested on Sarah's coffee table, waiting to be opened. Olivia sat nearby. Neither woman spoke much that morning. Some moments feel too important for conversation. This was one of them. The package looked exactly as it had when it first appeared on Olivia's doorstep. The faded shipping label, the aged cardboard, the handwritten message. Please deliver this before December 24th. The words carried a different meaning now. No longer mysterious. No longer confusing. Now they felt emotional, personal, a promise preserved through time. Sarah gently touched the top of the box. Her fingers trembled slightly. It's strange. Olivia smiled softly. What is? Sarah looked at the package. I've spent years not knowing it existed. She paused. And now it's right in front of me. The feeling was understandable. Some mysteries seem impossible until suddenly they become real, and reality can feel overwhelming. For several moments, Sarah simply stared at the package. Then she took a deep breath. I think it's time. Olivia nodded. Slowly, Sarah reached for a small pair of scissors. The room became silent. The sound of cutting tape seemed unusually loud. Carefully, she opened the box. The cardboard folded back. Inside rested several envelopes, bundles of letters tied together with faded ribbon, old photographs, and one leather-bound journal. The sight immediately brought tears to Sarah's eyes. For a moment, she couldn't speak. Neither could Olivia. The contents felt far more meaningful than either woman expected. These were not random papers. They were pieces of history, pieces of family, pieces of lives. Sarah carefully lifted the first bundle of letters. The ribbon had yellowed with age. The paper felt fragile, yet everything remained preserved, protected, waiting. As she untied the ribbon, a small note slipped free. The handwriting appeared elegant, careful, old-fashioned. Sarah read aloud. To whoever finally receives these letters, the truth deserves to be remembered. Please read them with understanding and kindness. The room remained quiet after she finished. The words felt almost sacred, a message reaching across generations, a voice from the past asking to be heard. Sarah unfolded the first letter, then began reading. The story revealed itself slowly, one letter at a time, one memory at a time, one truth at a time. Decades earlier, Sarah's grandmother, Eleanor Whitmore, had fallen in love with a young man named James Carter, Thomas's grandfather. The discovery immediately explained the family connection. But the story was far more complicated than anyone expected. At the time, circumstances separated them, family pressure, financial difficulties, life choices. A series of events pushed them in different directions. Eventually, they lost contact completely. Both believed the other had moved on. Both believed the relationship had ended forever. Yet the letters revealed a different truth. Neither had forgotten, not even once. For years, they continued writing letters they never sent. Letters filled with memories, regrets, hope, love, dreams of what might have been. Sarah wiped tears from her eyes. Olivia felt emotional as well. The letters painted a heartbreaking picture. Two people separated by misunderstanding. Two people carrying the same feelings for decades. Never knowing the other felt exactly the same way. One letter particularly stood out. Written nearly 40 years earlier, James Carter had written, open quote, "If life has taught me anything, it is that love does not disappear simply because time passes." Close quote. Sarah read the sentence twice, then quietly folded the letter. The emotion in the room deepened. These weren't merely family records. They were pieces of human experience, pieces of hope, pieces of regret, pieces of love. Hours passed. Together, Olivia and Sarah continued reading. Each letter revealed another chapter of the story. Eventually, a pattern emerged. James Carter had spent much of his life trying to reconnect with Eleanor, but every attempt failed. Addresses changed, circumstances shifted, opportunities disappeared, yet he never stopped trying. Finally, late in life, he gathered every letter, every memory, every piece of the story, then entrusted them to his grandson, Thomas. The responsibility became clear. Thomas's mission was not simply delivering a package, it was delivering the truth, a truth that had remained hidden for generations. Sarah looked toward the window. Sunlight illuminated her face. My grandmother deserved to know. Olivia nodded. She did. A sad smile appeared. But at least now I know. The words carried unexpected wisdom. Sometimes answers arrive too late for the people who need them most, but that doesn't mean they lack value. Truth still matters, even when delayed. As afternoon approached, Sarah opened the leather-bound journal. Unlike the letters, this journal belonged to James Carter himself. The entries spanned decades. They revealed personal reflections, thoughts, memories, and most importantly, explanations. One entry immediately caught their attention. "If these letters ever reach Eleanor's family, tell them she was the greatest joy of my life." Sarah closed her eyes. Emotion filled the room. Her grandmother had died believing certain questions would never be answered. Yet here they were. The answers existed. The feelings existed. The truth existed. The realization felt powerful. Later that afternoon, they reached the final section of the package. At the bottom rested a sealed envelope. Unlike the others, it appeared newer. The handwriting immediately caught Sarah's attention. Thomas Carter. The envelope was addressed directly to her. Sarah's hands trembled. This was Thomas's final message, the reason for everything, the reason he protected the package, the reason he disappeared. Slowly, she opened it, then began reading aloud. "Dear Sarah, if you're reading this, then somehow the package reached you. I don't know how long it took. I don't know who helped deliver it. But if these words found you, then the promise is finally complete. My grandfather spent his entire life carrying this story. He never stopped hoping the truth would reach your family. Before he died, he asked me to make sure it happened. I promised him I would try. No matter what. Life became complicated. Things didn't go according to plan. But promises matter. And some promises are worth keeping, even when they seem impossible. If you're reading this today, then everything was worth it. Take care of these memories, and remember that every family carries stories waiting to be discovered. Sincerely, Thomas." When Sarah finished reading, silence filled the room. Neither woman spoke. The letter required no explanation. Its meaning was perfectly clear. Thomas had succeeded, not immediately, not easily, but eventually. His promise survived, his effort mattered, his mission was completed. Tears rolled down Sarah's cheeks, not tears of sadness, not entirely. Something deeper, a mixture of gratitude, relief, closure, hope. Olivia felt emotional as well. The journey that began with a mysterious package had become something extraordinary. A story about family, about memory, about promises, about the surprising ways people remain connected across generations. As evening approached, Sarah made a decision. She wanted others to know the story, not because it was dramatic, not because it was mysterious, but because it mattered. Together, she and Olivia began organizing the letters, photographs, documents, everything. Their goal was simple: preserve the history, protect the memories, share the truth. Several months later, a small exhibit opened at the Green Hollow Historical Museum. Visitors came from across the region. Families, students, teachers, historians. Everyone seemed moved by the story. Many visitors spent hours reading the letters, examining photographs, learning about the lives connected to the package. One comment appeared repeatedly in the guest book. "This reminds me to ask about my own family history." The response made Sarah smile, because that was exactly the point. Stories matter, memories matter, people matter. The exhibit became one of the museum's most popular attractions, not because it contained famous people, but because it contained real people. Ordinary lives, ordinary emotions, extraordinary connections. 1 year later, shortly before Christmas, Olivia returned to Green Hollow. The museum still displayed parts of the collection. Visitors still arrived regularly, and Sarah remained deeply involved in preserving the family's history. As they walked through the exhibit together, Olivia noticed something. Near the entrance stood the original package, protected inside a glass display case. Beneath it appeared a simple plaque. The unclaimed package delivered 15 years late, a promise that refused to be forgotten. Olivia smiled. The words felt perfect. As she prepared to leave, Sarah handed her a framed photograph. Inside was a picture of Thomas Carter. Beside it appeared another photograph, James Carter, and beside him, Eleanor Whitmore. 3 generations connected by one promise. On the back of the frame, Sarah had written a message. Some deliveries arrive late. The important thing is that they arrive. Olivia stared at the words, then smiled, because they perfectly captured everything she had learned. Life doesn't always follow schedules. Answers don't always arrive on time. Promises don't always get fulfilled immediately. But sometimes, if people care enough, if people refuse to give up, the right things eventually find their way home. That evening, as Olivia drove back to Willow Creek, Christmas lights glowed in countless windows. Families gathered together, friends celebrated, memories were made, and somewhere within those ordinary moments, countless stories quietly continued. Stories waiting to be remembered, stories waiting to be shared, stories waiting to be delivered. The package had finally reached its destination, the promise had finally been fulfilled, and the mystery had finally come to an end. But the lesson remained, because every family carries stories, every person leaves memories behind, and sometimes the most important journey isn't about where a package travels. It's about the lives it touches along the way. The end.